We spend significantly more money per capita on healthcare compared to other developed nations, and America's system often produces worse outcomes. That said, America has been making strides toward a better healthcare system for a while. A lot of that is because of the social safety net programs that have helped to prevent millions of Americans from becoming uninsured. 60 years ago this month, Lyndon B. Johnson signed into law the Social Security Amendments of 1965, which created two critical and popular programs that persist to this day, Medicaid and Medicare. The signing ceremony took place at the Truman Presidential Library in Independence, Missouri. Former President Harry Truman was in attendance. That's him on the right, wearing the glasses. Moments after the bill became law, the 81-year-old Truman, who was the first American president to propose a national health care program decades earlier, became the first Medicare enrollee. He was presented with a Medicare card. Over the years, both Medicaid and Medicare have expanded to cover insurance for low-income Americans, people with disabilities, children, the elderly, among other groups. Today, more than 66 million people are on Medicare and 71 million are on Medicaid. Both of them are state-administered programs that go by many different names depending on what state you're in. For example, in California, it's Medi-Cal. In Kansas, it's CanCare. In Tennessee, it's TennCare. Sooner Care in Oklahoma, the Sooner State. Texas calls its program Star Plus. In Louisiana, it's Bayou Health. But regardless of the name, those are all Medicaid programs. And the 71 million people who are enrolled in those programs have made Medicaid the largest single insurer in the country today. The Affordable Care Act, or what some people call Obamacare, also helped the country make strides toward providing health insurance for more Americans. When the ACA was signed into law in 2010, the country's uninsured rate was 15.5%. In 2023, it reached a record low of 7.9%. Now, as many Americans have experienced firsthand, this country's healthcare system is still far from perfect. But it's undeniable that these programs, Medicaid, Medicare, the Affordable Care Act, have led to progress over the years. Progress that could soon be swiftly undone by the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the GOP mega bill that passed by the slimmest of margins with only Republican votes on Thursday. And yesterday, during a 4th of July event at the White House, Donald Trump officially signed it into law. Despite the GOP's celebrations and promise to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act will swell America's deficit, and it'll lead to people losing health coverage and a decline in the quality of care. The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, estimates that over a decade, the bill will add $3.3 trillion to the national debt and could increase the number of uninsured people to 11.8 million. According to the health policy organization KFF, other Trump administration policies could actually push that number up to 17 million people. Some will lose insurance because they won't meet the new stricter work requirements and the reporting standards that are included in the GOP's mega bill. Others will find it harder to enroll and to keep their plans under the ACA marketplace. In fact, going forward, people will have to update their information every year. They'll no longer be allowed to automatically re-enroll. Why is that necessary in 2025? On top of that, the One Big Beautiful Bill shortens the annual open enrollment period by about a month. These are efforts to choke off access to the ACA marketplace and make it harder for millions of people to obtain and maintain health coverage. Medicaid enrollees can also expect more out-of-pocket expenses. The bill includes provisions that require states with expanded Medicaid coverage to charge some enrollees up to $35 for some services. All of these changes and cuts are going to lead to the loss of service and the possibility that some of the country's 760 at-risk, financially strapped rural hospitals could be forced to close, hundreds of them. That's why some Republican senators like Susan Collins fought for a $50 billion fund for rural hospitals, although that may still not be enough to prevent some from closing. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act is a big step backward for this country's healthcare system.
All right. We're going to stop that right there. What's going on, good people? It's your boy Jay Taylor Voices for the voiceless. Good morning, peace and blessings. And as the title says, Debunking the Lies Told About the Big Beautiful Bill Part 2. Okay, so yesterday we talked about, no tax on tips, tax on overtime. Today we're going to deal with Medicaid and Medicare from the Big Beautiful Bill. And as you heard, a lot of different things that we have to debunk in what that man just said right there from none other than MSNBC. See, we were hearing all these false narratives that Trump is going to take away your mama and your grandmama and everybody Medicaid and Medicare. So that's the actual fear mongering that leftist media ran with the Big Beautiful Bill. Now they kind of switching it a little bit. They saying that people are going to be, it's not going to be as accessible. It's going to be more regulations, and that's true. What's going to happen is they are going to do some cuts, but it's going to be the cuts, the people that don't supposed to be on Medicaid and Medicare. It's supposed to be for people, a specific dynamics of people, specific demographics, of people, like the elderly, like, people that are not able to work because they had different ailments. It's not designed for people that are supposed to be able-bodied. It's not designed for illegal immigrants. And making the cuts is going to open up more benefits for the people that really do deserve it. Now, some changes, people that do get these benefits, a few changes are going to occur if you're between the ages of, I believe, 18 to 55 or something like that, where if you're able-bodied and you receive these benefits, you will be required to work. If you're not working, if you have children that are in school or the ages between 7 and 17, you will be required to either work or go to school or something as far as trying to what's the word I'm looking for? It is work, go to school, and it's another one. We'll find out a little later. They'll do some like charity work too, and that's what it was, charity work for 20 hours a week. So that's basically 4 hours a day if you work 5 days a week, part-time, and you can still receive your benefits. So they're basically trying to make people, do something constructive with their time while they are receiving these benefits. So, and they will be required to update their status every 6 months, so twice a year. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, as always, I have to flash this, and get together so we don't have no smoke. All right, so let me bring that up, bring it bigger. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is the use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, so we get that out the way. All right. Now, with that being said, now we heard that guy say all this stuff earlier about how bad Medicaid and Medicare is with the Big Beautiful Bill. right? And I kind of gave you guys an overview of some of the changes, but I'm going to present a video here so we can get some more clarity on how the big beautiful bill will affect Medicaid and Medicare. Let's go.
President Trump celebrated the 4th of July by giving America, well, a big, beautiful birthday gift. He signed into law his signature legislation called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
This bill will fuel massive economic growth and lift up the hardworking citizens who make this country run. The factory workers, farmers, mechanics, waiters, waitresses, police officers, firefighters, coal miners. So you have the biggest tax cut, the biggest spending cut, the largest border security investment in American history.
Yeah, Republicans claim 4 major components to this bill. Tax relief, they say, for working people and families. Spending cuts, they say, to steer our government budget towards solvency. Of course, a boost in defense spending to keep our military what they believe will be the strongest in the globe. And then a surge in funding, of course, for immigration laws and to secure our border, to include building a border wall. Joining us now is Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, thank you for joining us. Real quick, explain to us how extending those Trump tax cuts and adding these new tax cuts, like the 3 years of Social Security deduction, tip deduction, and overtime deduction, explain how that's going to affect the Americans' pay.
Well, it's good to be with everybody this weekend. First of all, if you were going to have a soaring economy into the future, we had to keep Donald Trump's tax policy in place. If we'd let that lapse, America would have saw a 68% tax increase. That's what Democrats voted for the other day. They voted to raise taxes on every American, small business owners, middle-income Americans, working class Americans. So you got to keep taxes steady from where they've been the last 8 to 9 years. Number two, the new stuff, no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. What that's going to do is help hardworking people in our country and seniors on fixed income, going to help them keep more money in their pocket. And what does that actually mean in the long run? That means they'll have more flexibility for their own spending decisions that they're going to make, which will then yield to more economic growth. If you have sound tax policy while also making sure people have more money in their pocket, as opposed to the government giving them checks or other subsidies, it will yield more economic growth in the future.
Congressman, always good to see you. Not a single Democrat voted for this law, remarkably claiming the Medicaid work requirements are a death sentence.
Eating too much salt causes hypertension, right? Nope. What about too much bacon and red meat? Nope. It's actually
people. Now, I want to stop this right here because the fear mongering at this point between the Democratic Party is uncanny. They are actually saying that this bill is going to cause people to be unalived. And one thing about these Democrats, when one of them says they have a talking point, they all say it. Like, watch this clip, how they put it together with all these Democrats saying the same thing over and over again. They try to use media mind manipulation to drill it in your head. They want you to be fearful of this.
People will die. Tens of thousands.
People that I'm talking to that I represent, Pam, who don't know if they're going to survive, literally survive this.
People will die.
This bill is trickle-down cruelty, and people will die because of it.
This bill is a deal with the devil.
Apparently, AOC's devil is a Democrat because in the past, a few of their presidents praised work requirements for welfare.
Our nation's answer to this great social challenge will no longer be a never-ending cycle of welfare. It will be the dignity, the power, and the ethic of work.
There is nothing shocking hidden in this bill. It's all been out there before. A block grant to the states, a 5-year time limit, work requirements.
So with that clip, the work requirements like Trump is implementing, people have to either work or do charity or go to school for 20 hours a week, the Democrats of yesteryear were in favor of that policy too. So I don't know what switched their tune, just like the guy in the beginning of this video. They're making it so hard for you to get your benefits now. They have these horrible work requirements. You mean to tell me somebody can't go to work or go to school for 20 hours a week? You know, especially if they are able-bodied and they have children that are of school age. I don't know. That's to me, that seems like they're giving people an opportunity to be self-sufficient and also continue to receive their benefits.
The height of hypocrisy. Congressman, the requirement is just 80 hours of work a month for able-bodied adults, something a large majority of Americans and even 47% of Democrat voters support. So, what do you believe is the real reason that Democrats are opposed to this legislation?
The reason Democrats are opposed is because we're beginning the process of unwinding the massive expansion that started with Barack Obama and continued with not that Joe Biden that you just put up, but the last Joe Biden that everybody remembers. Those two presidents, they massively expanded not just Medicaid, but the welfare state overall. So all we're saying is if you're able-bodied between the ages of 18 and 55, you have to work 20 hours a week.
Able-bodied. Now pin that. Able-bodied between the ages of 18 to 55, you have to work 20 hours a week. Now, if there are certain exceptions, like I said, if you're not able to work due to different ailments, you may be not physically able to do so or what have you, then you are exempt from this. So what is the problem?
Just 20. And it's not even just work. It's work, going to find a job, volunteering, or going to school. That's what we said. So if the Democrats are going to go tell the American people that people having to either find a job or volunteer or go to school 20 hours a week means that they're going to die, once again, the Democrats are lying. It's simply not.
Thank you. See all that fear mongering, but they put it in the media like that on purpose. You know, to scare you, like, oh, the bill's gonna unalive people and all. Come on, bro, stop it. The false narratives, man.
Not true. The other piece of this bill in Medicaid and also in SNAP is that we're going to stop these states, especially New York and California, from gaming the Medicaid system so that they can fund their budgets with federal money in order to give welfare and Medicaid to illegals. That's the other thing that we do in this bill. So they're lying because they didn't get their way. They don't want to tell the truth, because if they told the American people the truth, by polling, we know the American people vehemently disagree with the Democrats. But why are we surprised?
Congressman, let's talk for a moment about the $150 billion that's allocated to immigration enforcement in the law. Border crossings are down. They're sharply down in June.
So this is about border crossing, you know, and we're going to tackle this portion of the bill in a different, parts of this. Because I want to do this in steps. I really wanted to get to the Medicaid type of situation right now. And as you can see, like I said, 18 to 55 that are able-bodied, that are able to work, got to work at least half time. You know, or go to school or do volunteer work to qualify to continue to get your benefits. If you have children and they're under the age of 7, then you can be exempt of that because your child may not be in school, so you probably can't work. I think it's pretty fair. I think it's pretty fair, man. And like I said, this is debunking the lie. And people need to understand what's in this bill, because it's very extensive. A lot of people are not going to read it. It's over 900 pages. So I like to do this in sections to Today we gonna debunk. You know what I'm saying? The false narratives as it pertains to people gonna lose their Medicaid, people gonna lose their Medicare. No, sir, that's not the issue. You know, and this next video that I'm going to present is going to illustrate exactly who is going to be affected by this. Okay, let's bring this up.
In the New York Times this week, you and Robert Rubin, who also served as Treasury Secretary, called this bill dangerous, said it poses huge risks to the economy. What are those risks?
The Yale Budget Lab estimates that it will kill, over 10 years, 100,000 people.
What's with these people talking about people being unalived by this bill? It's like they've been given a specific narrative. Hey, every liberal, every Democrat go out here and say the same thing. It's gonna unalive. It's gonna unalive you. It's crazy.
That is 2,000 days of death like we've seen in Texas this weekend. In my 70 years, I've never been as embarrassed for my...
Oh my God. Now, y'all know the storms out there with all those young women and girls that have been losing their life. That's been our prayers and condolences and prayers for the survivors and everybody that was affected by those storms. It's horrible. For this man to compare this bill, the big, beautiful bill, to that horrific situation that's going on in the state of Texas right now, this was disgusting. This dude is disgusting for even bringing that up, comparing this to this bill, bro.
My country on July 4th.
Liberal economist Larry Summers is now saying Trump's big, beautiful bill is literally going to kill people like what happened in Texas. But Trump Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent exposes the Yale Budget Lab for what it really is.
The Yale Budget Lab, because I was looking at their findings, and this week I actually went on their website. They're all ex-Biden officials, so I think we can discount everything they say. I'd encourage all your viewers to look at the composition of both the board and the staff.
So we looked into the Yale Budget Lab, and Secretary Bessent was right. Yes, there are 4 former Biden officials, 4 former Obama officials.
Wow, so is that not one heck of a coincidence that they would be saying what they saying? 4 former Biden officials and 4 former Obama officials. What a coinky dink.
13 Democrats and 2 token Republicans. So let's welcome to the show Senator Roger Marshall from the great state from the Budget Committee, I should say. And should the media be more transparent about who's actually on the Yale Budget Lab and who makes it up? Because that is so one-sided, so lopsided. It's really not a candid, impartial assessment of the big, beautiful bill.
Yeah, Jason, great to be with you. And first of all, I want everyone to know that our hearts are pouring out for the folks in Texas, the victims, their families. And I've talked with Senator Cornyn, Senator Cruz, Congressman Jody Arrington down there, and I know they're doing what they can to help. And getting back to the situation at hand, you're right. This Yale Lab is actually another Democrat think tank. And that they're the type of economists that got it wrong under John F. Kennedy's tax cuts and President Reagan's tax cuts and Trump 45 tax cuts as well. They don't realize that when you cut taxes, the economy grows. And that's where the biggest difference is when you listen to their opinion versus our opinion versus this White House's opinion, that we believe that these tax cuts and then giving tax breaks for small businesses and for manufacturing, that's going to help the economy grow especially as well. I think about being able to write off new manufacturing equipment, being able to write off accelerated depreciation, those types of things.
Senator, how offended were you in the comparison by Larry Summers that there'll be 100,000 deaths like in Texas? To say that at this point, at this time, it's pretty offensive, was it not?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I feel bad for those families down in Texas being drawn into a political argument. But I want to emphasize on our Medicaid plan, we actually increased the spending. We increased the spending faster than the rate of inflation, $200 billion a year more, that we're trying to strengthen Medicaid and save it for those who really need it the most. So we're going to make sure that seniors in nursing home, people with disabilities, pregnant women, children, that they actually have Medicaid. The only one that's going to lose Medicaid going forward are people that are fraudulently on it, or people that are unwilling to work even just 20 hours in a week, or they can go to school, they can volunteer. I've said this before, but we have folks back home harvesting wheat that are working 20 hours a day. So that's not too much to ask of people. And by the way, I think helping people get a job is a good thing.
Yeah, it prioritizes Americans, and yet Democrats can't handle that. Senator Roger Marshall for the great state of Kansas, thank you so much for joining.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, that ain't hard to ask. I mean, dog, 20 hours a week. Jesus Christ, man. People whining and complaining about 20 hours a week. Man, I work 12 hours a day. Sometimes 6, sometimes 7 days a week. You know what I'm saying? Y'all complaining, y'all able-bodied. Get y'all ass off y'all ass and go to work. Go to school. So you can keep your benefits. And it's only 20 hours. 4 hours ain't nothing. I'll be out here busting 12. You know what I'm saying? If you're able-bodied from 18 to 55. After that, after 55, you good. You know, put your time in, man. If you want to get them benefits. Yeah, that ain't too much to ask. What you talking about? But yeah, man. The lies that have to be debunked for the people to understand, man, they not gonna take your mama off Medicaid or Medicare or none of that. You know what I'm saying? And I got one more visual here that we need to check out. One-on-one with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent of the Trump administration. He gonna break it down. So, you know what I'm saying? And we gonna get up out of here.
Talk about all of that is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it. Let's start with the new law and who it helps. The Tax Policy Center says the majority of the tax benefits will go to Americans making $217,000 or more a year. The Yale Budget Lab says the richest Americans will see their income rise by nearly 2%. The lowest earning Americans will see their income drop by 3% when factoring in cuts to Medicaid and food stamps. You argue that the benefits will really be aimed at the middle class. How does that square?
Dana, first, let's have a look at the Yale Budget Lab, because I was looking at their findings, and this week I actually went on their website. They're all ex-Biden officials, so I think we can discount everything they say. I'd encourage all your viewers to look at the composition of both the board and the staff, and it's just not right that what we have here is a middle class and working class bill that we are going to see wages accelerate, and we are going to see, just as we saw with President Trump's first tax bill, we are making permanent these tax cuts. And what happened in 2017, 2018 was the highest wage earners went from paying 37% of all taxes to 45%. So that's going to be permanent now. So permanently, the highest 10% will pay a higher percent of the taxes.
Never sue the other driver after a car accident. There's a better way to get paid a way bigger check without having to go to court or pay.
I should say that taking the Yale Budget Lab aside, there are Republican senators who are worried about affordability and who this all is going to affect.
Look, I think affordability, safety, and growth are the three things this bill is going to generate.
One of the tax cuts that are in here are for, and the president talks about them a lot, are on tips and overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Those are temporary. Why not make those permanent? They're only 2025 to 2028.
This is a big part of President Trump's agenda. So, we have what I call parallel prosperity here, that Wall Street has done great. Now it's time for working Americans to do great. And this is President Trump's agenda, so we've got it in for the duration of his term. And we will see if the next administration wants to do that.
I think that's a great idea. They do the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime for Trump's administration, because that was his, campaign promise. And if it works out as great as he anticipates, or the next administration anticipates, maybe they might extend it. Maybe they might add certain provisions to it. So it's something new that they're testing out for the next 3 years. And if it's a good plan, people will, that might be a campaign promise that the next administration can run on. Let's extend it. So I think that's a good idea.
And just talking about the affordability.
And if you want to know a little bit more information about the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, that's what we cover in part 1. In part 1 of the Debunking the Lies Told by the Big Beautiful Bill, you could go on my video from yesterday if you missed it, and we dove in on that.
How is making cuts on Medicaid programs?
Well,
how does that, and how it affects the people who are at the lowest ranking when it comes to income, how does that help with the affordability crisis in America?
Well, first of all, that affordability and saving Medicaid, let's separate those. And only in DC is a 20% hike over 10 years, a cut. So Medicaid funding will go up 20% over the next 10 years. The people who Medicaid were designed for, the pregnant women, the disabled, and families with children under 14 will be refocused. The able-bodied Americans are not vulnerable Americans. So a work requirement or a community service requirement, that's very popular with the public, and many state programs have that now.
She about to challenge them, though. I like this, that he's on CNN, that's a liberal leftist channel, and he's handling this interview well, but she about to directly challenge him.
Might be popular, but it's not what the president promised. The president promised that there would not be changes to Medicaid benefits, and putting a work requirement is, by definition, a change to benefits.
No, there are no change in benefits. There's a change in requirements to get the benefits. And what?
Bam! And the requirement is take your lazy butt to work, to school, or go volunteer somewhere for 20 hours a week. Wow. What a requirement. Like, God.
What we are doing, we are bringing back manufacturing jobs. We are bringing back working class jobs. By securing the border, we have already seen working class wages move up. So we are creating jobs. People can get off Medicaid and get a job that has good health care benefits.
In theory, that works, but I'm sure you've seen and heard a lot of the concern, including and especially from Republicans who are the most vocal in Congress, about the fact that those work requirements are going to be very cumbersome to actually prove, and it will inevitably force the people who need that Medicaid coverage off the rolls.
Well, first of all, the Republicans are not the most vocal on this. It is a group of Democrats who unfortunately seem to think that poor people are stupid. I don't think poor people are stupid. I think they have agency. And I think to have them register twice a year for these benefits, that is not a burden.
Exactly. If you know you got some benefits, and all you got to do is register and update it every 6 months, twice a year. And like he said, they trying to treat poor people like they stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like they know how to go get some benefits. I know if I need to go get my benefits, I need to go register every 6 months. They gonna send you your registry in the mail or email or what have you, and you just apply. I mean, y'all act like these people are infants or something.
But these people who want to infantilize the poor and those who need these Medicaid benefits are alarmist.
Yeah. But my impression of the Republican Party is that historically you've wanted to cut through the red tape and not create more red tape. But I do want to move on because
no. But we've also wanted to put in work requirements, which somehow that was very popular under Bill Clinton, was popular under President Obama, and this Democratic Party blew out the deficit.
We said that earlier. The Democrats said yesterday this was a bipartisan agreement. Like everybody, hey, you need work requirements. We don't want to have people reliant on the system for the rest of their life and passing it down to their children. This is a stepping stone, a building block to become independent of the system, less government, less taxes on everybody else. So we give people the incentive to go to work, go to school, get training, and they only requiring 4 hours a day.
In 2020, and they never want to bring it back. But work requirements even poll well with the median Democratic voter, maybe not the fringe.
let's talk about tariffs. President Trump gave countries a 90-day pause on the sweeping tariffs he put in place back in April.
Okay, so they about to get off into the tariffs, but I just wanted to get that part right there as it pertains to Medicaid and Medicare. And that's kind of just synonymous with food stamps, SNAP programs. They got the same requirements as well. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I think that this is a great move for the country. You know, if you incentivize people to go to work, to go to school, to become more self-sufficient, to receive these benefits, then that's going to make them more focused on, okay, I like working and making my own money and, you know, being out and about and contributing to society. So that's a great thing. And so it's up to President Donald Trump to create jobs for these people to have. Because right now the job market is flooded. And that's, you know, largely due to we have over 20 million people that were let into this country undocumented, that are basically undercutting the American citizens and working for slave labor, basically, you know, because they suck up the resources. And what's crazy is I seen something earlier today that other countries are going through the same thing we going through with illegal immigration. Even in Mexico, they trying to tell the people that's trying to come into their country, oh, you guys are from, even Americans. They saying that Americans that move to Mexico are messing it up for them, messing up their economy, messing up, you know, how their the fluctuation of their economy is going. And they out there protesting like, y'all need to go home. It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when we do it. I mean, I'm just saying. But yeah, man, it's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. This is debunking the lies told about the big, beautiful bill. They're going to take your mama off food stamps. They're going to take off Medicaid, Medicare. No, sir. None of that is happening. You know what I'm saying? It's quite the opposite. They are trying to open up the market for them to receive even more benefits by trimming the fat off the people that do not deserve to be on those particular programs, largely due to illegal immigrants and people that are able-bodied that can work 20 hours a week, man. But yeah, man, what say you? Leave it down in the comments section. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. We love y'all. And until next time, we shall see you soon. Peace and blessings.